Evaluation question 6. What have you learnt about the technologies from the process of constructing this product? When I first started this course, I wasn't familiar with a lot of the software we used, or I only had a basic understanding of it, so I learnt a great deal about the technologies I used during the process of creating my magazine. My cover was created using Adobe Photoshop. This is where I manipulated fonts, images, and shapes. I took my fonts from dafont.com, as this website offered unique fonts which allowed me to create generic conventions such as my masthead and various other cover lines. The only problem was that fonts couldn't be directly installed onto the computer, so I needed to save them as a JPEG and then open them in Photoshop using the Magic Wand tool to cut them out. Once cut out, I was able to recolor the font and then save it, ready to use on my cover. To further create a representation of my social group, I used a grunge effect, brush effect, on my font to connote my genre and to give it like a destroyed effect, much like typical metal mastheads. My main cover image was also manipulated and cut out using the Magic Wand tool. It allowed me to insert the image onto my cover without a background. I also used Blemish Spot Remover, which helped me to present my model Josh as an ideal self-partner, Carl Rogers 1980, as this tool helped me to remove my model's spots. The rest of my main cover came from inserting text, shapes, and similar elements. Here is a mini montage of some of the tools which I used in Adobe Photoshop. You have stuff such as applying a drop shadow, applying a stroke, inserting a background, crop and resize, and a few others. When creating my DPS, I used Adobe InDesign. I used Page Setup to choose my dimensions, set up the gutters, and also set up my columns. Once my page was set up, I was then able to create both my DPS and my contents pages. It was a very similar process to making my cover, but I was helped a lot by the layout. The columns helped me to insert my articles so it looked professional, much like existing music magazines. It also allowed me to adjust my images to the right scale and fit in between the columns. InDesign was similar to Photoshop, but it is processing software, whereas Photoshop is for editing pictures. Although InDesign was difficult to use at times, my previous experience with the software helped me when creating my music magazine. All of my videos were created using Windows Movie Maker, and all of my sound was recorded through a piece of software called Audacity. Both of these softwares allow me to create videos for all my appendices. Before my coursework, I had never used either of the pieces of software. But before I knew it, I was fairly confident with both, and I was able to create videos easier. By the time I created my final product, I was very familiar with these pieces of software, and I learnt lots about them. It enhanced my skills, and my confidence improved also. Also, during the process of constructing my product, I used a lot of web applications O'Reilly 2004 to help me create the best product possible. I wasn't familiar with any of these apps, but they are all pretty easy to get a grip of. One of the most frequently used web apps was WordPress. This was my online blog which I added posts to on a regular basis. I used this blog to show my development as I constructed my project. I also used it to upload screenshots, appendices, videos, presentations, and many more coursework related pieces of work. And another web app which I used was Bubbless. This web application allowed me to create spider diagrams, which was great for brainstorming ideas and writing them into a diagram. I only used this application a couple of times though. Prezi and SurveyMonkey both played a massive part in the construction of my media product, not as big as WordPress though. Prezi helped me to create an online presentation and deliver my ideas during Appendix 6. It was fairly simple to construct and edit because it was interactive. This allowed me to demonstrate my ideas fluently and make them as appealing as possible. SurveyMonkey played a big part during Appendix 7. This is when I asked my peers what they thought about my initial ideas from Appendix 6. And my presentation. My peers took a survey answering a variety of questions, then I was able to see their answers and analyse this. This helped me to create my product to the best it possibly could be, as I was able to find out ideas which was liked by my peers. The use of Prezi also helped me to research my target audience and discover my subcultures, as I put in a lot of research about these subcultures and learnt more and more about them as I included them in these presentations. Another piece of technology I wasn't familiar with was the Canon EOS 400D DSLR camera, which I used to take photos of my model Josh in the photography studio. The camera itself was difficult to use because of the vast number of settings it had. Each setting had a different purpose. It could be to adjust aperture, adjust zoom, and anything that could aid my photography. It actually took me 2 attempts to get the photos right. On the second time, I had a far better idea how to use the camera and I was able to take far better images. Although I found it initially difficult to use, once I had a few attempts at using it, I found it far easier to use. I also used my own personal DSLR camera, the Nikon 5100, to take images for my contents page, but these images were taken once I was familiar with DSLR cameras. The DSLR camera was very important for bringing my magazine to life and creating representations in terms of my genre. The images allowed me to present my models in a stereotypical way and also create a host of different meanings.